Everyone. Next, we have SensTech Inc. It trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol SNES and is the inventor of ContraPest, the only U.S. EPA-registered contraceptive for male and female rats. It's committed to improving the health of the world by humanely managing animal pest populations through fertility control. Please welcome President, CEO, and Director Joel Fruendt. Welcome, Joel, to the conference. Happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for the opportunity to present today.
All right, the floor is yours, Joel. Call me back when you're ready for questions.
All right, very good. So managing animal pest populations through fertility control, SensTech. First of all, be advised that we may be making some forward-looking statements during today's presentations. So I think that looking at the company, we have a significant opportunity here at SensTech. We are addressing one of the world's oldest and most challenging problems, and that would be rodent control through a completely different way than has ever been done before, by addressing really the root cause of the problem, which is reproduction. The existing solutions' effectiveness, so namely poisons that are out there, are limited by the rat's reproduction rate, their resistance to poisons, and also aversion, as well as some of the enhanced social and political limitations on the use of poisons. So I'll touch on those things in a moment. But really, as communities increasingly look to deploy sustainable, effective solutions, fertility control fits right in with that objective. We feel that products that can be paradigm changing don't come along very often, but when they do, they have an opportunity to change the way things have been done for generations, and we believe that we can do that. So I'll jump right in here. Some of the investment highlights. This is an investment conference, naturally, so let's highlight a few key reasons why we believe SensTech represents a compelling opportunity beyond what I had just mentioned. As you can see from the chart on the right, we have significantly grown revenues over the past few years with a 70% compounded annual growth rate. But really what's not listed here is that during our year-end conference call, which we held on February 21st, is that already in 2024, as of mid-February, total revenue for SensTech has grown by more than 80% compared to the same period in 2023. It's really being driven by orders for our new Evolve product. It's an all-new soft bait product that was really launched on the 1st of January of this year. And I'll touch on that in greater detail shortly. We are also making significant progress reducing our adjusted EBITDA loss. The Q4 quarterly adjusted EBITDA loss was the smallest in company history. And as we strive to achieve our goal of positive operating cash flow as soon as possible in the coming quarters, that's a major stride towards that. So beyond the growth trajectory of the company, we operate in a very large industry, with the company initially targeting a market in the U.S., which spends upwards of $1 billion or so annually on rodenticides. Importantly in this, we have a product now that delivers value to our customers, showing up to 90% or more improvement in outcomes when added to an integrated pest management program. In the near future, our core fertility technology can be applied to other animal pest populations, and we're expecting a mouse fertility product to be launched later this year. So when a paradigm-changing product that works comes along in a large addressable market, which can be expanded on in the future with rapid revenue growth and improved profitability metrics, that's where we're at right now. And that's very, very exciting for us. So the main reason is, what is our why? And our why is, why do we believe that fertility control is the answer and other solutions fail? So traditional pest control tools like poison seek to control the death rate. Therefore, they're very reactive. The challenge is the incredible rate of reproduction of the rats. So given sufficient food, water, and harborage, 2 breeding rats can result in 15,000 offspring after a single year. Incredible reproduction. In fact, Rentokil, who's the largest pest control company in the world, they commissioned a study that was called The Rise of Rats. They believe that 2 rats, after 3 years, given sufficient food, water, and harborage, can produce nearly 500 million descendants in just those 3 years. So you cannot poison them or trap them or gas them fast enough to overcome their fertility. You need to control the population really by reducing the birth rate. So what are some other global trends that are in line with what we're talking about? So having too many rats is a huge problem for society. One worth spending millions on because they really cost billions. And yet this problem is not a new one. It's been an age-old problem, usually addressed with lethal options, poisons, traps. But these options are not keeping up with the actual reproduction. So it appears that rat infestations are getting worse, and you see that in the news every day. But this is simply more than rats are a pest issue. They cause real impacts to society. From a public health standpoint, rats present enormous global public health risk and are significant vectors for disease, thus the public health. From a supply standpoint, rats destroy 20% of the world's stored food supply, either through consumption or contaminations. And they are highly destructive. Rats cause over $27 billion worth of infrastructure damage per year in the US alone. So the current options of rodenticides pose a very real danger to people, pets, and wildlife. Basically, sometimes the wrong things get poisoned. And so our solutions, our fertility control solutions, they're effective, they're humane, they're environmentally friendly, they're a better choice in controlling animal pest populations through fertility control. So as you can see here, adding our fertility control solution to an integrated pest management program has been proven to improve efficacy by over 90%. It's important to note, however, that different customers have different reasons to be satisfied. In the poultry industry, rat infestations, they cost money. The rats consume or contaminate feed. They feed on chicks, and they damage equipment. And as the labor required to control the infestation increases, you have additional costs there. So you can see here, we recently completed a study in the poultry industry. It's a West Coast ag farm. ContraPest, our liquid product, was added to their existing IPM program. The rat populations were surveyed for over a year to measure the reduction in rat activity through this treatment. The final results confirmed that ContraPest cut the rat population in half in 3 months and produced a sustained 90% reduction over the 12-month study. So while this deployment was at a poultry facility, the results are immediately applicable to many other agriculture situations. Anywhere there is grain or feed, there's the potential for rat infestations. And fertility control is proven in the field to dramatically reduce those infestations, reduce the negative economic impact, and improve the overall food security. And the chart on the right, in an urban setting, customer satisfaction is really in fewer rat sightings. It's more political, social, and public health driven. But again, we showed 90% control in the urban setting as well. So simply put, it works. But as many of you probably know, sometimes having a product that works is not always enough. You need to make sure that the product fits into the existing business model of those that deliver the service. So for decades, pest management industry has built integrated pest management programs around poisons, to a lesser extent, I guess, traps and drowning and gassing. Again, they have only been addressing one side of the equation, and that is the death rate. It's important to note that to some extent, the business model for pest management professionals has been, how do I get a customer to keep coming back? And so with our products, with ContraPest and Evolve, since they are contraceptives and not sterilants, meaning it needs to be continuous to be deployed and consumed to be effective, we believe that the pest management industry can continue to make money by integrating them into their toolbox. This is how we address the how do I get a customer to keep coming back aspect of the equation. And as I mentioned, ContraPest showed up to 90% or more improvement in outcomes when added into existing integrated pest management programs. And whatever IPM strategy is being employed, it works better with our solutions. This addresses the how do I solve the customer's problem part of the equation. So we believe that fertility control is a win-win for both pest management professionals and the end users. So looking at our product line, our product innovation, very proud of this. One of the imperatives I put forth last year was us to become successful giving the customers more options. Our initial product, ContraPest, it's unique, patented. It's a contraceptive technology that reduces or eliminates fertility in both male and female rats. The fertility control is delivered in a liquid form for ContraPest. Rats like to consume about 10% of their body weight in water each day. Very palatable to rats. It's sweet and fatty, and it keeps the rats coming back for more. So we have introduced different delivery systems for it to meet specific customer needs, such as a hanging feeder called Elevate, that is the first bait system that targets above ground infestations, particularly roof rats that may not access ground stations like the Ultimate Station. We also recently launched a new delivery system for ContraPest, and that's the Isolate bait system. This design combines the tank and tray into a single unit, and deployment is set up and done through a simple placement and peel-off seal. So there's about 80% reduction in time and effort to deploy the system there. So ContraPest works, it meets specific customer needs, but it doesn't meet all the customers' needs. So that's why we came up with our latest product that we're very excited about, and that is Evolve. It's our all-new soft bait product. It has similar efficacy to ContraPest, but it's in a format that is more familiar to the pest control world out there. It's easier to deploy, and it's offered at a competitive price to traditional rodenticide. It also has a 1-year plus shelf life, which is a great thing for distribution. It's designated as a minimum risk product by the EPA, pursuant to what they call Regulation 25B. And so we're real excited about being able to develop that and getting it out into the marketplace. The active ingredient is cottonseed oil. Cottonseed oil has a well-documented record of efficacy affecting fertility in rats. Similar to ContraPest, the low levels of the active ingredients in Evolve are designed for the body mass of rats. So larger mammals would need to repeatedly ingest a substantial amount over several weeks to see any effect. And Evolve can be used anywhere rats are found. Its form is similar to tiny sausages. Simply place 2 to 12 of these in per location and an update based on activity levels. You want to make sure that you keep the product out in the field. We recommend that Evolve, just like any other product, be secured in a bait station. Although if you're sure that you do not have any exposure to children's pets or wildlife, you can actually broadcast this. So it's a very important product for agriculture. And I just want to mention it again, is that is designated by the EPA as a minimum risk product and is not a poison. So Evolve has dramatically increased our reach in terms of markets and geographies. While we have only launched the product since January, it's evident from the initial response that Evolve is what retailers and distributors have been looking at from SensTech. And as you can see from this slide, we have implemented a multi-pronged go-to-market approach, selling through distributors, e-commerce, as well as we have a direct sales force. So Evolve is a great distribution product. It has a long shelf life, as I mentioned, easy to use, and at a great price point. We can now place product with distribution in ag, pest management, industrial, retail, international, all of these things that we couldn't do before. It's a huge development, and one that we just did not have available to us with ContraPest. So while we're commercializing Evolve, as with any disruptive or innovative technology, it's imperative to really identify the high potential market segments on which to focus. These high potential segments are chosen based on economic potential, access, and the ability to use them as reference points. So you'll see on the right-hand side of the slide that we're focusing on these key areas, including agribusiness, or residential, government agency, and of course the pest managers that will deploy the product in most cases. So who do we sell to? Well, you'll see some of the pest management professionals that we work with to deploy our solutions, including Rent-A-Kill, Truly Nolan, and others. And then on the right side, we have partnered up with some distribution leaders, Viseras, Target Specialty. They'll help us move our product to the pest management professionals and get it out into the marketplace where the end users and the applicators can pick up products locally, which is an important item. So one of the other things that I mentioned that I point out since we launched Evolve just a few months ago is we have signed on a number of distribution agreements, both domestically and internationally. In fact, one is a reference point is with an agreement with Poppy Enterprises, who's a distributor and pest management firm that's focused on the grain management market. So grain storage operations have unique challenges when it comes to rodent pest control. Poisons are highly regulated there and are tricky to use without contamination. Traps are expensive and time-consuming to maintain. So the non-poison Evolve soft bait provides a new tool for this widespread market. One last point that I would like to make here is that we recently received approval as a vendor for the largest hardware network of stores, a network comprising over 4,500 locations. This is the first of what we believe will be many major retailers that will carry our products to target the do-it-yourselfer and the broader consumer markets. So we're very excited on that, and we're in the final stages of negotiation with a rep agency that focuses on that retail space to handle our products. So when you look at, okay, what's typically been our customer base, e-commerce was an early contributor to top-line growth, so it represented more than a third of our sales. And we're doing things to enhance our presence in this area. I expect to see further growth in that space with Evolve. One interesting thing is our traction with zoos and animal sanctuaries continues, and we're now supplying our products to more than 20 zoos in the U.S. And it really highlights the benefits that we have where the risk of exposure to lethal rodenticides is critical. Besides being a target market in its own right, zoos and sanctuaries are the ultimate influencers for animal protection. So this continues to be a focus segment for us. So as we look to the future, Evolve will propel agribusiness to be an increasingly bigger part of our business, and we'll see more traction from the do-it-yourself market. And one of the things that I hit on a moment ago was to just iterate is the introduction of Evolve has allowed us to expand internationally for the first time in our history. We have brought added distribution internationally in Hong Kong, Macau, the UAE, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and the Netherlands. Importantly, These agreements typically included initial orders and annual minimums for geographic exclusivity. So I expect significant growth going forward on the international side. And as we have some recent news and successes, you know, how humanity is responding to too many rodents is not working. With many decades of effort and traditional responses, the public health concerns and the risks, they just keep rising. So there's really a growing realization that there's too much collateral damage in this war on rodents. As evidenced by California, they've adopted the Ecosystems Protection Act, which banned, under many circumstances, the fourth major second-generation anticoagulants commonly used in rodent control. So there are many tailwinds that are in our favor. Evolve is a game-changing product for SensTech, and that will be the key driver to our sales growth in 2024. I think I mentioned at the beginning, due to the early success of Evolve, it's becoming clear that there is an opportunity to leverage the EPA's minimum risk rules to develop a product for the mouse market. Our product development team is enhancing the form factor and the dosing of the unique soft bait contraceptive specifically for mice, and have indicated that a product should be ready to market by mid-2024. So that's very exciting news for us. And from a company's perspective, we are executing. We're delivering against our success imperatives. We're selling better. We're improving our products. And we are offering the customer more choices. I'm excited, really, about the progress made, and believe that 2024 is our best year yet. And looking at it from a financial viewpoint, as highlighted in the beginning, is we've experienced rapid growth over the past few years. Sales CAGR of 70%, as I mentioned. Most recently, revenue during 2023 was a new annual record of $1.2 million. Gross profit was $539,000, 45.2% of total revenue, compared to $464,000 in the previous year. So we think that the cost structure of Evolve may allow us to increase this over the course of the year. Ultimately, ContraPest brings in a gross margin of 45 to 50%. Evolve has the potential to earn 60% or more, which is very exciting. Operating expenses were $8.2 million, a decrease of nearly $2 million compared to $10.1 million in 2022. So we're working the operating expense side. For the fourth quarter, operating expenses were $1.9 million, a decrease of $400,000 compared to $2.3 million in the fourth quarter of the prior year. So we made numerous changes in our operating structure, brought our operating expense for the year down from $10 million in 2022, and this resulted in a $1.6 million improvement for the year in adjusted EBITDA. The company remains committed to driving operational efficiencies with a goal of removing another $1 million out of annual operating expenses. Net loss during 2023 was $7.7 million compared to net loss of $9.7 in 2022, an improvement of $2 million. Adjusted EBITDA loss, which is a non-GAAP measure of operating performance, for 2023 was 6.9 compared to 8.5 million in 2022, an improvement of 1.5 million. So I think that when we look at this and we say, okay, we're moving in the right directions across the income statement. And on the balance sheet, at the end of December, we had $5.4 million in cash. We improved the balance sheet roughly through a $5 million public offering of common stock and warrants in November 2023, of which we saw $1 million in warrants exercised so far. So as you can see, our balance sheet otherwise is pretty straightforward. We have no long-term debt. We have no preferred shares, just 5.1 million common shares outstanding. We also have 7.8 million warrants outstanding. Those can be seen as future funding potential. Similar to the recent exercise we just completed. About half of these shares will expire in about a year, so they are quite likely to exercise when they can. Let me just state what I said on our year-end call. Our goal for 2024 is all about sales execution while remaining innovative through the introduction of new and innovative products to the market, such as an Evolve mouse product. We started the year off on a high note with a tremendous growth in the first months of the year, and we looked to build on that through 2024. My excitement has been high as it's been since I joined the company. I believe that we have the right mix of product offerings to fully attack the large and growing rodent control market, a market that is desperately in need of innovation. Fertility control is that innovation, and SensTech is clearly leading the way. So I appreciate your time, and let me turn it back over to Anna for any questions.
Great job, Joel. We do have some questions for you. Starting with, it seems that several of these new contracts are contingent on regulatory approval. So has SensTech experienced any hurdles getting Evolve approved in any countries? If so, how are you overcoming them?
Yeah, not really. What we've done, we're targeting countries that we can develop a relationship with a key distribution, exclusive distribution company there. They know how to navigate the regulations. In each of these cases, they're getting our products to the right people in the government agencies to make a decision on. And they take the lead. They finance the approvals. We support them. So we're looking at those countries as having great opportunities, and because of our partners there, and they can get the product approved in a short amount of time, we feel. And the other part of it is that they have skin in the game because they've taken materials and are going to be using those materials for distribution into the country and for sampling.
And although I don't know the magnitude of the new orders that SensTech has announced, it seems apparent that production volumes will need to ramp. So does SensTech have the manufacturing capacity today to fill these orders? And if not, what does the manufacturing timeline over the next few quarters look like?
Yeah, so when we started looking at Evolve and how we would manufacture, we wanted to make sure that the process was easily scalable. And so we put in the systems, bought the equipment, and are ramping those systems up. So they're easily scalable. Based on our projections, we have enough manufacturing capacity that would fill our needs for the next 3 years.
And you have raised a few $1 million through warrants recently. As you enter this rapid growth phase this year and next year, does SensTech plan to raise capital by continuing to issue stock warrants, or will you start adding debt to the balance sheet? How are you going to do it?
Well, it may be a bit early for cash flow-based debt, but we are already using asset-based financing for our production equipment that I mentioned. In addition, the financing we recently did had $5 million of short-term warrants, which have to be exercised in about a year or they expire. So we have found in the past that these short-term warrants are an excellent source of cash without having to do other deals, and we expect those warrants to be exercised.
And talk about competition. Specifically, has any competition with Evolve involving the active ingredient of cottonseed oil entered the market?
No, we have a patent pending on Evolve. ContraPest has already issued patents. So we feel like we have a good platform there with patent pending products. And so we have not seen any competition in the fertility control space.
All right. Well, Joel, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
Thank you for your time. And we are in a position now with our Evolve product to really ramp up this company and get it into places, as I mentioned, the distribution that we just weren't able to get to before. So we're really excited about that.
Wonderful. Well, great work you're doing. And thank you so much for joining us on our conference. We'd love to have you back in the future.
Very good. Thank you very much for having us.
All right, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back with Zoned Properties.